Hey guys, welcome to another Game Explained discussion. I'm your host, Andre Seegers, and this time we're joined by Derek Binner and Ted Wiesen from Brain Scratch Comms to give our hopes and expectations for Nintendo's upcoming mobile games being based on Animal Crossing and Fire Emblem. So let's get started. Alright guys, so amongst all the disappointing news Nintendo had recently, there was a highlight, and that's the fact that they announced two of their upcoming mobile games, being Animal Crossing and Fire Emblem, and they even gave us a little bit of an idea of what to expect. So in the case of Animal Crossing, they mentioned that, or in the case of both of them, they mentioned they'll have more gameplay elements than Miitomo, and basically hew closer to the actual games, or hew, somewhat close to the actual games. So for Fire Emblem, they said it'll be more accessible while retaining RPG elements of the games. And the Animal Crossing, they said it will be rooted in the world of Animal Crossing, and will in some way relate to the upcoming Animal Crossing games, which we don't know anything more about. So it's not much, but it is something to go off of. So I thought it'd be fun for us to give our thoughts as to what we hope the games could be and what we also expect them to be, because that can be a little bit different than what we hope them to be.
Yeah. I will say that one of the biggest things to come out of this, for me personally, is that Nintendo now considers Fire Emblem to be one of their biggest franchises.
And they said that, yeah. They treat it as like a major game now. That's awesome.
Yeah, that is a huge turnaround from where the series was before Awakening. And that's just in 2 games. Well, technically 3. But yeah, that's crazy, and it's great to see. Like, I'm very happy that they consider it to be just that important to them. As far as the mobile games themselves, it makes sense. These two make sense. And honestly, it does not take much to get more gameplay than Miitomo.
I have to say, I have to give full credit to Josh in the Biblock. He said something hilarious about this, where he said, yeah, even like a calculator has more gameplay than Miitomo.
He's not wrong.
He's not.
Miitomo, it's Formspring, but only people actually listen to your answers because they want Nintendo points. So,
actually, yeah, you're right. That totally is what it is.
I like Miitomo for what it is, but it is not a game. So if you wanted a game from it, that's not really what it is. As for Animal Crossing and Fire Emblem, again, if you told someone 5 years ago that Nintendo would consider Fire Emblem one of its biggest franchises, I'd say that you were off your rocker. But I'd say that out of the two, I can more easily see how Animal Crossing would work than Fire Emblem, because I don't think Nintendo's going to try to strictly emulate the feel of one of their, like, a console version or a handheld version on mobile, so I can't see Fire Emblem working in, like, a straight chapter-to-chapter way in the way it does in most of the games, or even in, like, a world map way, like in Awakening. So, in terms of what I'm expecting from Fire Emblem, I honestly have zero idea, but Animal Crossing makes a lot of sense. And when Nintendo first announced that they were doing mobile games, one of the first things I said was have Animal Crossing on mobile be a companion to a console Animal Crossing game. So you can go look at my tweets, called it, because it just makes sense, because console Animal Crossing does have a certain appeal that handheld Animal Crossing doesn't, but I will not stick with a console Animal Crossing as long, because it's not as easy to do. I have to set aside way more time in my day to play console Animal Crossing as opposed to, like, playing it on the subway or whatever. So, if I could do stuff like check letters or buy stuff at Nooks on my phone and then have that go to my console Animal Crossing, that would keep me going a lot longer, I think, for sure.
That's a really interesting way of looking at it. It's funny because for me, actually, I know a lot of people prefer Animal Crossing on the go because you can, pop it open, play a little bit, and close the 3DS and play again later. I actually prefer it on the console because I like being able to sit back and just be immersed in this, like, really casual world that's just, kind of fun to dick around in. You just do whatever you want. And that's why I like playing on a console. But hearing what you described there, like having these elements that connect in and being able to take care of maybe some other, like, for lack of a better word, like the more grindy stuff, the more work-based stuff on the go, that seems like a perfect, like, companion type thing, right? Where you can buy stuff at Nooks, as you mentioned, or maybe take care of some of that more, like, nitty-gritty stuff while you save the greater exploration for the console experience.
Wouldn't it be great if you could just have, like, a robot set up and you're just like, okay, cut grass.
Well,
don't have to worry about weeds or anything like that.
No, I could very easily imagine that, if you can't make it to your console that day, you could, like, there could be somebody on your console who would be like, pay 500 bells to pluck every weed in town, or whatever. And well, here's the thing: is that it has to function both as its own experience and as a companion to a Wii U Animal Crossing game. That's also the thing.
That's actually a really good point, and that's actually why that idea hadn't occurred to me. Because I think part of the reason why Animal Crossing makes a ton of sense. Okay, there's actually multiple reasons. One, it just by default makes a ton of sense for mobile. Like, it just already seems to be a perfect match in heaven. It's a very casual game. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, honestly, out of all of Nintendo's franchises, I think Animal Crossing is the best fit for mobile.
By far, exactly. And I think, too, in this case, as you touched on, it needs to stand on its own. And we've already seen Nintendo experiment with this with Animal Crossing itself, with Happy Home Designer, which itself is a very compartmentalized version of Animal Crossing, and yet is still a full game. I mean, I guess some people may argue that, but at least Nintendo presented it as a full game. And so I do wonder if Nintendo might use that as like a launching off point for what it could be on mobile, especially given the fact that when I was playing Miitomo, I'm like, it would make so much sense if I could modify my house. Like, everyone has this generic apartment, why can't I? And maybe this is why. What if Animal Crossing is that thing to fill that particular need?
Well, now you just made me think that Animal Crossing on mobile is just going to be Happy Home Designer. Like,
it might, because Miitomo was kind of like Tomodachi Life in a way, right?
Yeah,
like,
it's just, I liked Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer for what it was, because what it was basically just a dollhouse. So,
right.
that's what it was. You could
it totally was. I mean, like I said, I experimented and did not just open up the boxes, left everything where it was, and said, done. They're like, it's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, if you want Happy Home Designer, if you want to play with, specifically like these 4 animals and have them do cute things and whatever, and for that it works just fine. But I think it would be a huge missed opportunity if that was what they focused on Animal Crossing Mobile instead of the more core gameplay that the series is known for. So
I don't know how much they can, though, without compromising the core experience, because they obviously, I mean, they definitely don't want, I mean, presumably this game's going to be either really cheap or free. I would guess it's going to be free, but Nintendo hasn't said anything on that matter, so who knows. Either way, though, even if they do charge a small amount, they'd have to. You can't charge, Nintendo would be able to charge full prices on mobile. They wouldn't want to compromise their core Animal Crossing game. That's why I don't think it can be, I mean, it can't be that elaborate compared to the full game. So what I expect maybe is perhaps something, maybe if they took the concept of Happy Home Designer but expanded it a little bit, kind of combined it with the idea of how the Game Boy Advance connectivity worked in the original Animal Crossing on GameCube, where you had your own island. So what if you had like a vacation home, and that's your house, that's your dollhouse, for lack of a better word, like Happy Home Designer, you can modify however you want, but you also have a small little area outside, where you have an island you can maybe decorate however you like, and they can visit other people's islands and see what they're doing. You can visit other people's, their vacation homes, which, and the vacation home kind of provides a conceit for why it's not part of the main town. Like, this is where you go when you're on the go, and then when you want to go back to your full village, that's when you play on on your NX or whatever.
That does seem like a really good idea. Mm-hmm. The only thing I think would be missing would be being able to interact with the villagers.
That's true.
But, other than that seems probably the best thing you could hope for.
I could see the villagers, like, maybe having villagers, like, drop by. I guess kind of like in Happy Home Designer. I didn't play it myself, but don't people drop by, Derek, still, occasionally?
Oh, yeah.
You can use amiibo cards to get people to visit your house, or visit other people's houses. So yeah, that's really where I consider the dollhouse, because once you build somebody's house, you can, like, I'm going to have everybody over for a tea party, and whatever, and you can dress them up however you want. And so that's where I got that kind of idea of the game from.
I mean, I don't play Animal Crossing that much. The series has never been able to truly hook me in any real way, especially not Happy Home Designer. New Leaf kept me for a little bit, but the idea I kind of have is maybe sort of like a Sim City type of thing, where you manage the city section of Animal Crossing. Like, cause can't you go to the city and do special things in those games? So maybe go to the city and be able to work on that sort of thing, or by extension, maybe it's the same sort of thing as your island idea, Andre, except we just be able to have more people show up and maybe just like fulfill requests from the animals for what they want to do in their city life, and you just you still get the interaction with the animal, but you're sort of like doing town management rather than just relaxing and earning bells and stuff like that. But you can still take stuff that you earn through that and use it in the console version or some way.
I mean, that would kind of tie into the whole like idea of being a mayor in New Leaf, where you can manage some aspects of the town from the mayor's office. Maybe they could turn that into something you do on your mobile phone. But again, it has to stand on its own too, I think.
Well, I could imagine that, like, on the mobile, like, because I'm thinking about it, like, how is Nintendo going to get people to pay money for this game? Well, the way I'm instantly thinking about it is you can change real-world money into bells. So, like, $5 is 5,000 bells or whatever, and then you can get, small amounts of bells by doing mini-games or whatnot, and then you can use that to develop your island or your town or your city or what have you. And, like, maybe you could transfer money in between the mobile and console versions if you connect them. I could see that possibly working. I'm not sure, though.
Oh, man, that would... it's true. That could possibly work. That starts to get messy, though. If you can pay real money for bells and transfer those bells over to the home game...
Oh, well, man. Of course you would. That's how Nintendo would make its money, though.
You're right. They would. Yeah. Oh, man, I don't know if I like that, though.
It's devious, and it's not exactly great, but you can see it happening and working very well.
As long as they're not really in your face about the monetization feature, then I wouldn't care. Because if people want to waste $500 to get every single thing of furniture in Nook's Cranny, good for you. Have fake furniture. As long as I'm not being harassed with you can spend money to get more stuff messages, I won't care if the feature's in the game. Because that's one thing I do like about Miitomo is that you have to dig in order to even find the ability to buy Miitomo coins.
I guess my concern isn't so much being pestered with messages, but when you start... I'm not a fan of any kind of like single-player focused game where real-life money is part of the economy, because then it brings into question of what kind of balance they're going to add to the game. Like,
well,
are things going to cost more expensive now in general, just so they can get more money out of you in real life? And even if it's not, that question will always be there in the back of my mind. It's like, how did adding real-life money affect them balancing this game?
Well, I think Animal Crossing is probably the one thing where I don't think it would matter as much, because in every Animal Crossing game, there's always really easy ways to grind money. So that doesn't really bother me. Not to mention that it's not like Animal Crossing is a game where you need money to progress. Like, if there was an RPG, for instance, like Fire Emblem, if you could spend real money for gold, and you needed that gold in order to buy weapons, then you'd run into the thing of how do you balance this gameplay-wise in order to have people who don't want to pay and continue going. And for a lot of free-to-play mobile games, you basically just can't go until you either get masterfully good at the game or you spend money. Like, particular levels in Candy Crush, for instance, do stuff like that. And even Pokemon Shuffle to some extent, because that game annoys me. Yeah, I think Animal Crossing in particular, I think that wouldn't be as big of an issue, but I would be shocked if there was not an option to buy bells with real-world money in that game. Absolutely shocked. I mean, Grant, it might be better for the game overall if it doesn't happen, but I would be shocked if it wasn't an option.
I mean, I do agree it's less of an issue for Animal Crossing. I'm just kind of principally opposed to any kind of like real-world money being injected into like what might be single-player games in general, but especially if it ties into the NX version. However,
okay, that makes sense.
That's more my issue is how it ties into the NX version.
Well, the funny thing is, like when I saw these two games, and in both cases, I thought, oh, okay, they probably won't be free to play. There'll be probably just one set fee, and then we're good to go. Like it's $5-10 to get it on mobile, and then that's it.
I don't think they're gonna do that because that puts a wall in front of their potential user base. Because if somebody downloads the game for free, then that gives them the chance to be hooked. If there's a paywall right there, somebody browsing through the App Store on their phone is probably going to skip it, or they'll just search for the free apps. So I don't think anything Nintendo releases on a mobile device will be more than 99 cents, if that.
Yeah, I totally agree, especially because it seems like they're treating in this case it as an extension of the upcoming one. It sounds like, right? So they want to get the brand out there, and having any kind of paywall, as you mentioned, impedes that.
See, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought I remembered them saying that they were not going to do much free to play. I thought they would be doing more solid purchases as well. I might be remembering that wrong, but I swear I heard something like that.
I can see Fire Emblem being a pay to play, but I don't think it'll be like $10. I think it'll be like $3 maybe with in-app purchases. I think that's mobile games. Mobile is a completely different market than console. So while buying a $40 game is fine for us on a handheld or whatever, spending more than like $3 on an app will get most people to turn their head, I think.
Oh yeah, you're totally right.
Because if they can just play like Doodle Jump or whatever, then why would you spend for free? Then why would you spend $3 to download Fire Emblem?
And that's why I definitely think we won't. We're not going to get anything close to a full-scale Animal Crossing here. It's going to be something on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
I do wonder if maybe if they might have some kind of like Miitomo has a Miiphoto thing, right? And that seems to be almost one of the more popular aspects of that app, where you.
I love that thing.
Yeah, that almost should be its own thing. Separate it, make it completely independent Miitomo, and just take your own photos and you can share those. I wonder if they might do something similar with this. I mean, I guess Happy Home Designer already does to some degree, but and I actually want to give credit to again Josh on this case because he kind of further fleshed out my idea, where he had mentioned like what if like they have the Able Sisters as a focus here, where you can design your own patterns or something, and then maybe you could sell those. Or post those for other people to grab, and then those can then be incorporated into the NX game. Like one idea I had is, what if you could use your phone's camera to take a picture of something and make that a texture for like a shirt, and then you can put that up in the Animal Crossing store.
That's not a bad idea.
I think that's a great idea. In some way, I think that the mobile version of Animal Crossing has to facilitate social interaction.
Yeah, I think so too.
Animal Crossing is much more fun when you're playing with friends, but trying to like visit other people's towns and whatever has always been a cumbersome process because Nintendo and online. Mm-hmm. So, back in the GameCube days, trying to like take your memory card to another person's house or something, that was even worse. So, I think that however they do it, they will need to make it so that you can share stuff or pictures or go to other people's towns or whatever in a and I think using the mobile version to make that easier is the best way to go.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what they do with Animal Crossing. So I really am expecting there's something along the lines of a Happy Home Designer, maybe just elaborated a little bit, expanded a bit, such as what the island idea. So
yeah, I think it'll definitely be more successful than Miitomo though.
Well, Miitomo, I mean, how are you defining success though? Because Miitomo has had like what Nintendo say, like 10 million downloads or something?
Downloads.
Yeah, that's huge.
But they're also not making as much money.
Yeah, that's true. And also, I feel like no one's playing it anymore. But
yeah, I downloaded it. I don't play it anymore.
I could see Animal Crossing easily having a much longer life cycle than Miitomo. What about Fire Emblem though? Because this one seems a lot more.
That's a tricky one.
Yeah, they said it was going to be a strategy RPG, so there is going to be the traditional gameplay in there at the very least. So it's not going to just be like supports or whatever. That I think I think some people might be afraid that it might just turn into a waifu dating game. I don't think that's gonna. Honestly, I think that.
I don't think it's gonna be that. No.
No, I think the reputation for Awakening and Fates to kind of become that's a little bit overblown. But but I just we know that there's gonna be just a strategy gameplay. What interests me more is the framework in which they put that in. What do you think that they'd structure the game with there? Do you think they'd have like a beginning and an end, and like a chapter story, or?
You would think they would want to go infinite with it, but I also have a feeling it's probably going to be like, to me, this seems like the most game-like of all. I can't imagine Fire Emblem becoming sort of like this just infinite story. Now, the only I don't play a lot of mobile games, but the only point of comparison I have is Kingdom Hearts Unchained Key, which came with 200 quests right off the bat, and they're actually adding more. So the story doesn't actually end, you just have new scenarios pop up, and that's maybe the biggest thing I can think of with Fire Emblem is just have maybe not an overarching plot, but just small like scenarios that pop up, and you can either have like one solid game and then get expansions on that game for like maybe 99 cents or whatever, or you can try to earn it and it just get its free updates, and it's sort of free to play in the same vein as Unchained Key, where you can earn money towards your equipment and whatnot, or you could purchase them using in money packs to get like the best stuff. But I guarantee they're also going to have the equipment degrade over time, like the old games, if they do that sort of thing, because that's just an easy way to get people to continue to spend money.
You're not going to be able to spend $1 to get a silver sword that will never break. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So I can definitely in my mind, the way this works best as far as a mobile game is to keep the Fire Emblem gameplay, be able to maybe have that whole interrelationships thing. I don't know if it'll be quite to the extent of Awakening and Fates, but I think it'll still be there in some way, and just have new scenarios pop up over time. And that way people can just come back to them, experience them, give them more reason to buy equipment, and keep going along that way.
The only things that I can definitely see happening for this is that one, missions are going to be way shorter than in in the main series, because maps can go on for like an hour in some games. And the other thing that I'm pretty sure of is that I lost my train of thought. Damn it.
Well, here's the as you were going about that, actually I had my own thought. They said it was going to be more accessible. I honestly think they're going to get rid of the permadeath mechanic because it's
damn
not.
That was what I was
I had a feeling that's what you were going to say, but I think permadeath is probably going to be off in this game just because there's no way to restart, and that's all of a sudden you go from like the most accessible to the most devastating.
Are you kidding me? Permadeath is on in a way. I feel like that you pay money to get your guys back. That's how they get you. That's how they get you spending money.
That is another option.
Like, I could see, like, oh no, Marth died. You could either wait a half an hour, or you could pay or you could pay. I could see that.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, I think that would make sense.
Okay, I forgot about the timer aspect. So yeah, they could be in the hospital, and you can either wait a certain amount of preset time to get that character back, or if you want to keep playing, pay that money. That I can totally see.
I mean, I think I would be very surprised if you weren't paying on some level potentially to get characters back.
I don't know. I part of me thinks it will just be one solid payment because it is Fire Emblem, but there's the whole free and just update it and just having ways to get new equipment and new characters and that kind of thing. That totally is a viable option too, because all of a sudden you especially get classic characters in. There's going to be people that want to try them out.
The problem Nintendo's going to run into, and that's if they went where you pay up front, and that's why I don't think they will, is it instantly puts a value on that gameplay experience, which you're then comparing to the original experience on the console or handheld. You're going to compare it to Awakening at that point, or Fates, and I don't think they want that. So that's why I do think it actually will be free. But they're going to find some way to charge you, whether it's for getting characters back, equipment, or whatever. So, especially because if they do charge for it, like it's going to have to be, it can't be a full Fire Emblem game. I don't see that happening, and especially because they wouldn't want to compromise the sales of the other ones.
Yeah, I see this being very self-contained. I see like 5-minute strategy missions, although that's actually gonna be interesting to see how they're gonna make bite-sized strategy. That'll actually.
That's.
I kind of like that idea.
Having really tricky,
like having it be based on these short-timed. What if it were like more real time than Fire Emblem typically has been, where like you do have like this time limit, you have to think fast. It's all built around these bite-sized experiences. That's actually really interesting, I think.
I don't know if they'd put a timer, but I think that they will structure the levels so that they don't take as long. Because generally in any given Fire Emblem mission, you're on one side and the objective is on the other side, and then you're usually dealing with waves of reinforcements, or there's some sort of special gimmick unique to that map or whatever. I think that they're probably going to lay off on stuff like that to have focus more on stuff like, okay, this is an axe guy, use your sword guy. I think they're gonna need to make it more fast paced.
It's going to be like the early missions where it's
Probably.
a little bit more condensed, which makes sense. And I also think they're probably going to have just a way to have time in between scenarios, ways to just keep leveling your characters or getting like buffing them in some way, sort of like in Fates and then not in Awakening and.
What if they?
And such, and
what if
whatnot.
placement, or not placement rather? What if travel was less of an issue? Like, because right now, as you mentioned, Ted, you have to travel from one end to the other. What if they get rid of that entirely? What if you can just tap where you want your units to go and they go there? So it's more about the placement than getting there.
Well, the thing is that movement is very important in Fire Emblem because you've got characters like Pegasus Knights who can move a lot, and then they can also like go over rivers and stuff, but they can be easily shot down by archers, or like horses can't go across mountains and whatnot.
They're probably looking to simplify this though a lot, I would imagine.
Yeah, but that seems like a pretty key element, especially with strategy. Placement is key.
What part of the gameplay would you say isn't key then that they could cut out?
I would say map gimmicks. I think because for the most part, like Awakening has very simple maps compared to a lot of the other games, and that's one of, if not the most successful Fire Emblems. So like I would generally expect them to not have an awful lot of map gimmicks. Generally less enemies to fight as well, I think would be key. So
which is probably also mean less allies on your side.
Probably.
I would not expect teams of 10. I would expect teams of like maybe 5.
Yeah, that would make more sense. Generally, I'm not sure what they would do in order to make the game feel more fast-paced to make up for that, though, because the more strategy I think you chip away, the more I think you need to make the game exciting to make up for that. So,
it's definitely tricky, or they could just go for a semi-longer experience and allow you to save like during maps and just trying to keep that core set. It's really hard to say.
Yeah,
I don't see them doing that. I mean, I think we may not be thinking far enough outside the box. Like, I think this will have elements of Fire Emblem. I don't think it will be nearly as similar as you guys want it to be, perhaps.
Well, they're selling Fire Emblem, so I expect a Fire Emblem.
Oh, you're going to be disappointed then. I can guarantee you that right now. And keep in mind, they're not selling it. I don't think they're going to be selling it. You're going to get it for free, is my guess. And you'd pay on top of that.
But they're still trying to sell a product, and like, if you're calling it Fire Emblem, I expect it to be like Fire Emblem.
Well, the thing is that Fire Emblem has probably been one of the most consistent series in Nintendo, I think. Because there's been 14 games, and the core gameplay has not changed very much. Like, they've added stuff, but they've added stuff like the weapon triangle. There was a few experimental things, like, in the early days, but I'd say ever since the mid-90s, the core gameplay has been, people are going to nitpick, but on the whole, pretty similar. So, that in that sense, I think changing it too much would kind of go against the point of making it a Fire Emblem game. So I think that I don't see them changing. I think the interface, if you look at a screenshot of the general gameplay, it'll look very similar to a typical Fire Emblem map, just scaled down. It's the framework which I think is probably going to be where we see the most changes.
That's pretty interesting. I don't quite expect that, because I felt the same way about like Animal Crossing before Happy Home Designer rolled in, and that dramatically changed how the game. It wasn't an Animal Crossing game really. It had elements of it, and I'm expecting something perhaps along those lines for Fire Emblem, because again, if they offer too much of that core Fire Emblem experience, then what's the point of buying the game itself on the platform, except for maybe more story?
Well, I think the thing is that they can afford to offer more of that experience, because I don't think that they're going to be making a new Fire Emblem game for a while. Like, Fates just came out, and this probably won't come out, I'm guessing, until late summer at the earliest. So it's not like Animal Crossing, where there's going to be presumably another game coming out soon where it has to be a companion to, but also in some ways somewhat of a competitor to. I think this has the luxury of being able to stand on its own a little bit more.
But even then, though, it introduces a problem with the value, right? Unless they are charging full price for this game. I don't know. Which I don't think they are. I don't think they can charge at all. But then it's like, well, I just got Fire Emblem for free. That's as good as the console one. What's the point of buying the console one?
Well, the console one would be the new story, in my opinion, and the new ideas that they would bring to it. The mobile one is probably going to be very shallow as far as story.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that'd be one way of compromising, just cut out the story almost entirely and have it just be based purely on gameplay.
Yeah, I can't imagine them, because they'd have to do so much writing if they were going to have a continuous story, especially if they were doing updates. Like, I can't imagine them writing like potentially hundreds of support conversations. That's not on a regular basis. That's not happening, especially if they have to translate this as well. So,
or I think getting back to what they said about making it more accessible, I think they're going to aim more simplistic here than. I don't think Fire Emblem is necessarily that accessible. I don't think it's that simple to get into. Like, for people who have no experience with JRPGs or turn-based games at all, like it's not that easy to get into. I don't believe.
No, it's not, which is why I think it's going to be in casual mode where people can't die. But again,
I'm talking even beyond that. Just from a pure gameplay perspective, it's still not that accessible, I think.
Well, if you jump in at like chapter 10, sure, but anybody can get through, say, Lynn's story in Fire Emblem 7, because that was designed to be an entry point for players of the series, to the point where, honestly, the pace gets so slow that I think it's a detriment to the game as all, because it feels like the game's treating you like a child at points. So, yeah. But, presumably, if you're dealing with less characters, like, maybe less of the specific stuff, like, maybe, they're gonna cut, like, archers being effective against Pegasus Knights and things like that in order to keep, because stuff like the weapon triangle, that's very easy to understand. Swords beats axes, beat lances, beat swords. Like, if they focused on that and maybe bring in magic, maybe archers as outside stuff, I think that it would be very easy. I don't think that we'll see anything on the scale of, like, lunatic mode or anything like anything like
or
that.
I would even suspect that we wouldn't even see anything like ballistas or magic weapon. Like,
no, I don't think.
Or magic weapons.
Oh, no.
It's going to be very simplistic.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah,
so
I'd say very few map elements. Like ballistas. I'd even say things like healing might be out the window, I think.
You think they get rid of forts?
The forts, maybe forts, I'm not sure, but I think, like, dedicated healers, I think, would probably be gone, I think.
Probably because they might tie that into, again, paying, right? Maybe you can pay for potions that instantly heal you.
My whole thought is that you don't want to go too overboard with trying to make people pay.
I mean, is it, though, compared to, like, if you're going to die anyway, why not give someone an out? I'm just speaking from the perspective of how mobile games typically work. But I don't like paying for games at all beyond the initial entry fee anyway. But, like, if you're going to lose a character, or a character's going to go down, or whatever, or you're running out of health, you're probably going to want to give the player some kind of out for that, and they want to pay for it. Go for it.
I think they're going to have... I do think they're going to have clerics. I think they're going to have people, healing units there. I don't think they're going to go quite that far.
What if you lose your cleric?
Revival.
Then you're generally
that's
boned.
when you do the whole waiting thing. Yeah,
you're generally boned if you lose your cleric in Fire Emblem anyway. Well, if you're not doing a reset run, but yeah, generally you keep them back. If you're playing smart, that's it. That is.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways to go around it, but who knows? Generally, I think it's going to be more simplistic, but not too.
I just hope it's not like for. I hope it's still satisfying, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see what's going to happen here. I think I don't know. I'm feeling we're going to get a pretty dramatically different experience compared to how. I don't know, but this is such a weird one. Like Animal Crossing, I can totally see. Fire Emblem is such a bizarre one.
Like the funny thing is, I could totally see it working on mobile as is. But
that's a weird thing. Like when I first read this, I mean, this makes complete sense. Of course, Fire Emblem, like, it lends itself perfectly with its slow, touchscreen or slow, like, turn-based gameplay. That works perfect. Then when you start thinking about, like, in real world terms, like, how are they gonna make this work? Like, both in terms of charging money for it without compromising the original games.
Yeah, in terms of gameplay, it's going to be much easier to play Fire Emblem on a phone than, like, playing Mario. Because I hate unless if they made it like a runner or something, because trying to do anything like with a virtual D-pad is gross. But
I
if
totally
you
agree.
just need to drag your units across the screen or make selections, that anybody can do that on a phone easily.
Actually, so you just reminded me of one other thing I want to bring up here, and that's the fact Nintendo previously announced they're releasing 5 mobile games by March 2017, and we now know of 3 of them, being Animal Crossing, Fire Emblem, and Miitomo. What are the other 2 you'd want to see or expect to see? Are there any other franchises from Nintendo you think would make perfect sense on a mobile device?
First one that came to my mind as far as making sense on mobile, I'm not sure, it wouldn't look as good, obviously, since it's mobile, but Pikmin. I think Pikmin could work really well.
That's an interesting one.
I love Pikmin, but I'm having a hard time seeing it on mobile.
You might have to change around how it works, but I could see like that same sort of thing where you're guiding units, like circle the Pikmin, drag them along, tell them which paths to go.
Yeah, taking a more godlike approach with it, where you direct the Pikmin with your finger, right?
Exactly. Not really controlling Olimar, but just like maybe being Olimar and guiding Pikmin remotely, that sort of thing.
I can kind of see that. The way I almost kind of see it, like if either of you guys have played Bravely Default or Bravely Second, the Norende Village or Fort Lune quests in those games, like you collect people through Street Pass and then you assign them to different jobs that take a certain amount of real world time to complete. I could see something similar to that, styled like Pikmin. Like I'd add more gameplay elements than just like assigning people to stuff, obviously, but I can see it kind of like that. But I mean, I love Pikmin, but I'm not sure if it's the most apt fit. Obviously, there's going to be a Mario game. One of those 2 is Mario. That's
think so?
That's a no-brainer. Of course they're going to have a Mario game. Because Mario can do anything.
It is a no-brainer. That's why Nintendo probably wouldn't do it, because it makes sense.
Yeah. I'm not even sure what kind of Mario game you would make for mobile.
Mario can do anything, so they could make Dr. Mario on mobile. They can make a Mario Mario Sports mini game on mobile. A Mario Endless Runner. They could if they just made a random idea, they could slap Mario's face on it and it would be a game. I guarantee you there will be a Mario game because people will buy that or will spend money.
I mean, there absolutely will be at some point. I am not sure it'll be the next 2 though. I don't know. For whatever reason, I'm more inclined to think we'll see Zelda before we see Mario on mobile devices. Because we've already seen a bunch of weird Zelda spin-offs anyway. Including that Picross game most recently, but then they've also had the smaller scale experiences like Tetra Trackers or whatever on the GameCube version.
And
I don't know.
There you go, Ted. You could have mobile Link's crossbow training.
Mobile crossbow training, instant buy.
I actually love that game. That game was so fun.
Best game. I can sort of see Zelda. Personally, I would like something related to Kirby, but I'm not sure what they would do with Kirby on mobile.
Bring back Kirby Pinball.
Kirby Pinball, or maybe... I actually don't like Canvas Curse very much, but I could very easily see them doing a Canvas Curse on
Yeah,
mobile.
that would totally work on mobile.
Yeah, man, I wish I didn't actually bring that up because now I'm really disappointed because I do not like Canvas Curse.
Oh, what about Kirby Flappy Bird? You flap Kirby, he flaps his little wings, and it goes up or down.
That's probably on the App Store already.
Probably. There wasn't that Kirby golfing game? Kirby's
Dream Course.
Dream Course, that's it. Yeah, Kirby's has so many spin-offs that he could totally work for mobile. They'd find some way.
Actually, even more than Mario, they can literally throw Kirby into anything. And
Yeah.
He's a ball. It works.
Exactly.
Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think if they were going to do anything with Mario, it would be Mario Kart on mobile. I think that makes a lot of sense. If only because Mario Kart, out of all the Mario spin-offs, is consistently the most successful. So I think that we could probably see that on a mobile. Gyroscope
that's one of the type of
turning. I think a couple of really simple courses. Maybe style it like the SNES game. Maybe for nostalgia points. I don't know, but I can see that working.
The only way I can see that working is if they don't want to compromise the core games, I think. But since they totally forgot Battle Mode, they could just make a Battle Mode Mario Kart for mobile.
Oh, there you go.
That'd be freaking cool.
How messed up would it be that the first decent Battle Mode since 2005 because
Mobile.
was on mobile.
That'd be amazing. Oh man.
Oh my god.
That really would be something.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other series that might work to fit in those final 2 spots, but
Well, not. I mean, keep in mind there's gonna be more beyond this too.
oh god, yeah. But I'm just thinking just in terms of
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
what would be
what they want to represent
immediate.
their mobile lineup starting off, right?
Yeah.
They could bring back the Game & Watch games.
Oh god. Yeah, I don't know. I definitely think Kirby seems like a really good fit though.
I think once, yeah.
The only I think definitely something Mario, but you were saying Zelda. If they could come up again, if the Animal Crossing idea works out well with it being a companion to another game, if they could come up with a way for a mobile Zelda to tie in with Zelda Wii U and X, I think we could see that. And I have no idea how that would work either, but
Yeah.
I could see that happening too.
Yeah, I kind of hope they don't do that. I don't want mobile anywhere near my Zelda Wii U.
Well,
Exactly.
whether or not we want it, it's what's likely.
I know, it's true. That is very true. I think once we see what Animal Crossing and Fire Emblem ultimately end up being, we'll have a much better idea of what to expect.
Yeah, we
in the
can't base
future.
anything off of Miitomo.
Yeah, God, no kidding, right? Alright, well, do you guys have any final thoughts at all before we wrap it up here? Any final details or opinions you want to get out there?
No, I think I'm good.
I'm good too.
Are you guys excited?
Not for Animal Crossing, but I'm curious what form Fire Emblem will take.
I would say interested, not necessarily excited.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way of putting it, yeah. I mean, I haven't been shy about my general dislike for playing mobile games, so I'm very curious to see what Nintendo ends up doing here, but I'm not especially optimistic in it being things I actually want to play. But we'll see. I've said before, if there's any company that can make me play mobile, it's Nintendo. And so far, they've totally failed Miitomo. But
Yeah, surprisingly, the game that has got me play mobile is Square Enix and Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah,
well,
that's
I guess
right.
that should be that unsurprising, but yeah.
actually, yeah, it's true. Given your love of Kingdom Hearts, that actually isn't
Yeah, I guess
surprising
that's a
at
good
all.
point. But it's even then, I don't think it takes a lot to get me to mobile, and somehow somehow it did it because Miitomo
Yeah.
certainly didn't.
All right, Ted, where can people find you at besides on Miitomo?
I do Brain Scratch comms, and we talk about lots of video games. Not Miitomo, though. We haven't done that one yet. Maybe someday.
All right, and of course, you can keep an eye on Game Explained for more on Nintendo's mobile games coming up and other things gaming as well. Catch you guys later. Bye.